Hey, everybody, we're diving into the world of mobile app monetization and marketing today with AppsFlyer, an innovator in the field. Carolyn, how are you?
Good. How are you, Evan? So glad to be on your show. And hi, everybody. Glad to be here. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. Admired you guys for some time. For those who aren't familiar with you or your work at AppsFlyer, maybe introductions are in order.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's talk about AppsFire just briefly. So, AppsFire has been built since 2012, and it was really in response to an increasing in demand in terms of we build all these mobile apps, but how do we really understand our efforts and ROI in terms of scaling the user base of our mobile apps? So we sort of found immediate product market fit. Throughout the years, AppsFire has been built really under with the mission of helping brands and marketers to make good choices with good data. And so presently, we offer a whole suite of mobile marketing measurement products, including data analytics, deep linking, engagement metrics, and fraud protection on the sort of core user acquisition front. But we also increasingly have launched data collaboration clean room to help more brands to leverage their first party data. And I can expand that later on because otherwise it becomes very jargony. As
Yeah.
about myself, yeah, as about myself, would be happy to chat more about why I'm here. What do I do at AppsFlyer?
Yeah, and tell us, a little bit about your perspective on trends that are defining the mobile marketing industry today. It's a very mature space. We have more apps than we know what to do with, lots of winners and losers in the app economy.
Yeah,
What are the trends that you're tracking at AppsFlyer?
yeah, definitely. In terms of mobile for apps, for mobile marketing, not only have we seen the earlier days of automation, as you know, Google UAC, which is sort of machine learning based automated assembly of your ads and tell you how the performance is. Increasingly, more brands are embracing multi-platform approach. So more brands are seeking to find users in other channels beyond just
Mm,
the usual names. That is one trend that's been going on for a while. The other trend, which is a very big one, is signal loss. This has started with consumers really demanding more privacy, and with the launch of iOS privacy settings, and increasingly there's the talk about the deprecation of GAID, and the increasing amount of pressure in terms of signal loss. The other one that's increasingly a big trend the industry is actively embracing is the integration and utilization of AI in everything mobile marketing.
yeah, well, AI, it wouldn't be a tech chat if we didn't talk about AI. So, from your point of view, in a practical sense, I mean, how is it being implemented within the mobile marketing industry, both by app developers as well as those, B2B companies behind them?
Yeah, for sure. In mobile, I would say you'll find there are tons of things talking about this already, and there are certain industries that are adopting AI more so than others. Gaming is one as an example. Generative AI has been utilized by a lot of game developers to create a more interesting gaming environment faster, and also obviously they have a lot a heavier load in terms of the computational power. But besides that, from mobile standpoint, I would say there are about three areas that mobile is embracing AI. The first, I would say, it's sort of the physical side of
Mm,
integrating AI. For instance, the camera, which is something that we have all grown to kind of feel like it's a part of life, the recognition, the security measures on our phone, but also the voice assistant and predictive text prompts, for example. These are all what I call sort of the physical. It's how we interact with the phone. The other piece is the UX. in terms of the user experience. Increasingly, you're seeing the search sort of giants as well as the newcomers such as Perplexity. They all have these apps to make search a lot more intelligent. And then the third one, and that's where, by the way, AppsFlyer helps a lot more brands with immediately with our solutions, is what I call the experiential. The reason is having the data that really connects the dots to provide every user a stochastic, hyper-personalized journey is where more brands are finding is sort of the new frontier for growth. But all of that really requires a holistic, in fact, a seamless and fully integrated data at the back end so that the brands know, Evan, when you come to, let's say, Airbnb or Marriott's web app, we can give you a super personalized experience.
Well, really, personalization is key these days. And you do put a lot of focus on data-driven decision making. Any
That's right.
strategies or best practices, to those marketeers who are trying to scale their mobile efforts, different initiatives? What can they do better than they're doing today?
Yeah, this is very interesting. In terms of data, I have noticed something I would call the sort of old school marketing versus the modern day
Mm,
marketer, and particularly even in the modern day marketers, if we think about it, mobile marketers are more of the sort of new kids on the block compared to the Web 2.0, which, by the way, full disclosure, I used to be one of those.
mhm.
So I definitely understand both sides of the coin. But mobile marketer, there's something I think may be helpful, especially for companies who are just learning and trying to familiarize themselves in mobile marketing. I think one thing very critical to understand is while old marketing may be an art where a great creative platform can be very contagious if it's and it's
Mm.
basically omnipresent if we have enough funding. The old sort of priceless campaign, just do it campaign, open happiness. But increasingly mobile marketing and just modern day marketing, it's all about being a scientist because our consumers are becoming a lot more personalized. Not everybody wants to subscribe to just the same thing that everybody else
Mm.
has. And our ways of reaching them can be very specific. We could actually be more like a scientist where we hypothesize who our target customers should be and where they may spend more time so we can influence them, what kind of messaging really resonate with them. Once we have all of that hypothesis, and let's say, even if we only target three types of consumers, they may have three different needs each. Like easily, that's nine. And then if we create three messaging for each of those needs, that's 27 permutations. And obviously, brands deal with millions of permutations. So it really calls for a systematic way to hypothesize, experiment, and measure to know what is really resonating. And you can shift your budget much faster than your competitors.
That's fantastic. And how often do you get into the dollars and cents sort of tangible benefits, ROI calculations that businesses can expect from investing in mobile marketing? In the old days, it was kind of hit and miss. But I
Yes.
think you have some tools that enable that. Or how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so true. Let's maybe quickly flash back. In the old days, I did recall mobile banners don't work, and this
Mm.
was sort of a wrong perception. This has been so fundamentally changed because mobile marketing really has leveraged all the means of communication with consumers while becoming increasingly accountable. Because not only we can track which ad platform and what kind of particular ad drove that mobile install with tools like AppsFlyers, we allow our marketers to understand not only, let's say, Carolyn, I have downloaded this financial app, but I also have made a first deposit which is what we call the in-app conversion event. And we can connect that all the way back to where the ad was first seen, what video was this consumer actually interacted with. So it's a holistic picture for brands to know if their mobile investment is actually paying off. And they can then dial up or dial down. But I earlier mentioned about the privacy situation. So for advertisers who are just launching on their mobile campaigns, one thing super critical to understand is deeply understand the data that may or may not have been shared with you by your media partners, Apple or Meta, for example. You want to be as comprehensive as possible. This is one of those things that AppsFlyer has launched, what we call Conversion Studio, so that we can provide the single source of truth in terms of iOS users. And this is where things become a bit technical, but I would just quickly highlight why this is important. iOS users in general demonstrate higher lifetime value for many other brands, not all, but some brands. So they're pretty much in demand. But Apple has its high privacy setting, as we know. So it is not easy to just use the off-the-shelf Apple data set to deeply understand whether you have indeed used your paid advertising dollars to acquire all the iOS users. And the other question that always comes up with our advertisers is, how do I get more iOS users? Where are they? To scale iOS spending itself sometimes becomes a specific business goal that some of our brands are going after. And all of that requires more understanding of the data.
Yeah, great point. I, for one, happen to like, very targeted ads. It's a great way to discover new services and products. So I sort of, I'm unusual. I don't have any privacy turned on, but I know that going against the grain here. So when it comes to metrics that marketers should focus on for their campaigns for best ROI, what are the metrics that you suggest they pay note to?
Right. At a higher level, let's assuming this is a boardroom conversation. You're my CFO. I would say always start from there. Always make sure no matter what we do, what we say at the end of the year, we want to be responsible to come to the CMO and say, hey, guess what? You gave me $1 million. I was able to achieve the CAC, which is lower than the LTV for every single user that marketing has sourced and acquired. It is easy at this high level because ultimately CMOs should be responsible for driving growth in a both profitable way and in a predictable way. And that is all obviously very high level. And the devil usually is in the details. So I would say to kind of wrap our heads around this, it's useful to think about what we AppsFlyer call as the mobile growth flywheel. In terms of the mobile growth flywheel, it literally is a wheel, and we have an infographic about it. But just to picture this, we start from the first quadrant around we need to acquire users. Hey, the product has seen some success. Let's go acquire users. Let's pay money. So every user we acquire, there usually is a ROAS target, ROAS, which means the return on that advertising spend needs to meet our internal metric. And there is a target. Let's say acquiring the user for selling this AirPod should be less than $1 each. So let's make sure we hit that target. The second phase, though, is once we acquire that user, let's onboard them very quickly so we can achieve monetization smoothly. And this is usually your initial transaction. If I were an e-commerce website, that's the metric we should be optimizing for in the second phase. The third phase is engage and monetize. Because Evan and you or me, once we become an app user, we're not the one and done. We want to engage with it. We will consume more of it. Let's say Walmart app. I periodically buy my stuff from the app because I could be looking for a scooter. I could be looking for dry cat food. So I do not just shop once, but how to make sure the app continuously engage with the user recognizing the reality is not everybody will come in and open these e-commerce apps every day. This is where marketers, oftentimes a different team, will then optimize for it. The fourth area of metrics is interesting. It's both a business metric and productivity metric that advertisers should pay attention to, which is the fourth one. Analyze so you can acquire ideal users more efficiently at scale. The analysis piece, again, AppsFlyer comes to be a sort of joint at the hip with our brands, is we really help our brands to both find out the ideal users and they can double down. Earlier I mentioned about the iOS users. For some brands is the Google users. And both are important. You just need to know what you really want to double down on. But I mentioned about productivity. I'll just highlight why. Productivity can be in a degree of 10x difference. We have seen by utilizing some of the solutions that we have, our advertisers have our clients have reported, I spend 10x less time manipulating the data so that I can look at everything apples to apples. That's huge because 10x could sometimes mean one, perhaps 5 full-time people that you have to hire just to do the manual work.
Indeed, yeah, a lot of work to be done and a lot of interesting opportunities out there that haven't been realized yet with marketeers. So we have a busy fall season coming up. I know Inbound is early in September, and I'll be there. This will be a hot topic, mobile marketing, as well as other industry changes and challenges. What's on your mind as we head into the fall in terms of topic areas that might be of interest, especially on the B2B side where I focus?
Yeah, for B2B, I think one thing that's really important is both AI and the utilization of AI. Something I'm personally very passionate about is AI for marketing. And there are two pieces I would just say I'm very excited to further chatting about with you and with our listeners on the show is how do marketers adopt AI as efficiently as possible? What I call, what I see interesting is there's almost potentially a little bit of a choke that's happening for the ecosystem. Why? Is that the end users, I call for AI literacy of all marketers so that we as the AI end users are not just like stopping the traffic, because as many great tools are launched these days, Anthropic, Perplexity, ChatGPT, not all marketers, I guarantee you, are using it. On the flip side, marketing management are all saying, more than 60%, this is super important. We want to adopt AI. So I would call for a little bit of upscaling for all marketers to really think about AI literacy and AI utilization. The second piece that's applicable for B2B marketing in terms of AI is how to leverage AI so that we can pull forward the marketing measurement. Again, measurement. We're nerdy, we're AppsFlyer, but I think what we have seen is as we work with our brands, our clients, increasingly to fight the signal loss that we know is coming and present for many of our brands. It is critical to think about how do we then leverage the signals we can detect from creative metrics. So as a brand, we can have a faster feedback loop to understand if our campaign is actually making sense. A small example for using AI is to understand what kind of messaging really resonate with our ideal target customers. This is what, in my old days as a product marketer, I used to interview our customers and say, I'm launching this new product. Will this messaging work with you? And I have to do, this is an orchestrated interview session for about a month. I talked to about 12 of them.
Wow.
Right? I would say, I think productivity increase makes sense. The feedback may come back to us to say, this is actually a true story. The feedback came back and what we found out was Well, this particular capability doesn't really matter to the current user base because the feedback we have heard is, well, that's above my pay grade. So, in fact, that research allowed us to pivot the entire messaging to a new persona. But increasingly, I think with AI, knowing GPT prompt, knowing AI prompts, more marketers can do their customer messaging testing way faster because, as you
Mm.
may know, Evan, we could tell ChatGPT, assuming you are an expert of a SaaS tool targeting XYZ persona, here is the messaging. Tell me what's good, what's not. Research can be done in a matter of minutes.
Wow, what a great takeaway and a great call to action. Really insightful and helpful. I guess final thought here, what are you looking forward to, you and the team, over the next couple months into the fall? What's on your radar, personally, professionally, otherwise?
Yeah, I want to highlight something super exciting. We have noticed, and this might be true for B2B marketers too, which is probably why people are going to inbound conference. But for us at AppsFlyer, we're working on a super exciting conference, what we call MAMA. It's essentially referring to mobile marketing analytics. This is a
Mm.
conference that we have started running a few years back, and but the last time it was run in the Bay Area, in fact, North America, was 2019. So
Wow.
this is a rebirth of one of the most sort of magical conferences that we run. This is coming January 28th in San Francisco. So my team and I are actively working on putting this show together. Where we're hoping to really facilitate marketers who do the same job in various brands to have the forum where they can connect with one another, share best practices. And that's what I meant by B2B marketers may have the same need. We go to these conferences to share best practices. I also personally love a good party. We are going to have a wonderful party at the show. So I hope to see a lot of folks to come and check out our show, engage with us, and learn a thing or two, actually, a lot of things about mobile marketing. January 28th in San Francisco.
Fantastic. What a great opportunity. Time for all marketeers to up their game when it comes to mobile. So many changes, so many opportunities, so many new apps, a TikTokification of social, and et cetera, et cetera. So great opportunity. Thanks, Caroline. Thanks for joining and sharing your insights.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for the listeners out there, I want to highlight maybe one last thing. Having done both B2C and B2B marketing, I want to highlight B2B marketing requires a lot more orchestration. I personally think it's harder to do because we do not always have statistically significant data. So I
Mm.
want to just empathize with our listeners. As working as a B2B marketer requires a lot more intuition and requires us to use past success to build credibility with our stakeholders. But with AI, I'm excited and pumped about what's ahead for us in terms of running marketing as a scientist. So we could do a lot more data-driven analysis. And otherwise, as B2B marketers, I also want to say we always got a lot more fun parties to attend to. For that, I would say not a bad gig.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. I love your enthusiasm and appreciate all the insights you shared. Good stuff. We'll be penciling that in. Your event sounds
So
fantastic. Thanks so much and appreciate it. Appreciate you listening, everyone. Take care.
thanks,
Bye
everyone.
bye.